somewhere along the line in the awakening process, we can innocently start to reject our humanness. And it's kind of understandable because we felt so contracted in our story of who we thought we were. And then we started to learn how to transcend that, how to break free of the egoic cycles and get a bigger perspective and see things from the perspective of awareness. And this is very freeing and feels lovely. And so it's understandable how we would want to stay there, stuck sort of more in that transcendent place, choosing a place, but to be free of that, to be free of the drama and the suffering. It's totally understandable. But what can happen is we can then misinterpret that as that the being human, the human part, the human element to this experience, there's something wrong with it, or that I don't really want to experience that. But what it is that we really don't want to experience is believing we're separate, being trapped within egoic consciousness, believing we are separate people. That's what's actually painful. There is nothing wrong with the human that is here, the body, the animal that is here. It's just that we've believed that that's who we are. And so we can misinterpret that as we want to get out of this human experience. We want to transcend it. So this is like if you think about people doing drugs to try and transcend the story, it gives great relief. So it's very understandable, but it's not, we can get stuck there because it's not about just transcending it. That's just one movement of awakening. There's so much more to it. So yes, it's very beneficial to transcend the story and get the bigger picture view, become aware of what is really happening here. But that's just the first step. After we've gone through many processes and had many realizations and openings, hundreds, I would say, we eventually have a mind awakening where it's permanently, we realize I am emptiness. And that's just putting words to something that really can't be spoken about accurately, but that's the sense of it. So I thought I was a separate person, but I'm actually this empty, whatever this is, formlessness here. And then we operate from that. That's really just the first part as well. That's being awake through the mind is really just the beginning of the awake part of the journey. So even to get to that is very challenging in itself. That's a very long journey just to get to that shift. But once that shift happens, then there's a real coming back into the body. And this can happen prior to that shift. It can happen slightly differently for everyone. But at some stage, there's a going up and out. And then at some stage, there's a coming back in process. And when we start to embody what it is that we've realized, that I am awareness, I am emptiness, however we've realized it, not conceptually understood it, but realized it with all of our being, that's who I am, then it's about coming back into the body, embodying that realization, and then becoming an expression of that. And that happens in the human form. That's what's here. It's a human that's expressing that realization that I am formless divinity, whatever you want to call it. I am that currently being expressed as human form, this unique human form here. And so there's no separate people here. There never has been, but there is this animal here that we call human, that we've labeled human. And this is a unique expression of the one. And so that's an important part of the awakening journey because we are reclaiming our humanness, so which we initially transcended at one stage. We then want to really come back in and be fully in form, fully in the body, and fully embrace our humanness. And that's what comes with it. And this phase is a lot harder because it's not as pleasant as the first phase of transcending the story, maybe meditating, self-inquiry, that type of thing. That was quite freeing, that stage. When we're doing work coming into the body, then we're dealing with what's actually here, the imprints, the pain, the repressed emotions, the trauma imprints, the things that are stuck here in the body and nervous system that want to be released. And so that can be painful, especially if you've had a hard life and there's a lot of backlog of stuff there. It can be painful. So it is understandable why we'd want to avoid facing that, but that is what's required to continue on this path to fully embodying the truth, and not just transcending it, not just understanding who we are on a mind level, but bringing it back into form as an expression. And it's highly worth it. So although it's challenging to go through the healing part and releasing all of that and shadow work, it is really hard. I do get it, but it is really wonderful to be a living expression of truth, to live from unconditional love. It's where all the perks are at. This is the benefit of awakening is when you're fully embodied. And when that's completed, you could say you're in unity consciousness. There can still be some kinks to iron out, but you're awake through the heart, through the mind, and you're embodying, and you're an expression of divine love. I mean, how beautiful. It is as lovely as it sounds, although there's still challenges and still a further part of awakening to go. But this talk is about not rejecting our humanness. So this includes the physical body, and it includes everything that it means to be a human. And that is that we will still have preferences. And this animal here is conditioned in a certain way. Maybe it overeats. Maybe it has a high sex drive. Maybe it doesn't like the cold. Maybe it doesn't want to exercise. There is egoic tendencies that we have that have created overlays to the behaviors that we do. But once we let all of them go through this healing process, we're left with just the core conditioning of the vessel itself, this human form itself, which will be unique. It will be different from each person, one person to another. It will be unique. And so you don't need to reject that. You don't need to worry about why you are a certain way. That animal is the way that it is. Just like if we look at nature, which is such a great teacher, if we look at a bird, like one bird might be really energetic and another one might not like moving and might be like what we consider lazy. So we don't judge the bird in the same way that we do humans. We're just like, well, that's just how it is. It is the same with us. It's just how we are. This vessel is just the way that it's been conditioned to be. It's a unique expression of humanity, of the divine, and it's totally fine the way that it is. So this teaching can often be used to excuse poor behavior, and that is obviously not what it's designed for. So if we're doing dysfunctional behavior, so harming other people, harming ourselves, then we're more talking the world of ego and wounds and more healing work to be done. So this is not what I'm talking about. It's if I often see this with like teachers, more so in the past, where you would hear about teachers sleeping with students or sort of power issues, money issues, that type of thing. That is not this that I'm talking about. That is not embracing your humanness. That is ego. That's egoic. If you're trying to get over someone, that is egoic. The ego is above and below, superior, inferior. So the human vessel here, the animal here, is not concerned with those things. It's concerned with some pleasure. So that's okay. That's a part of it. Some comfort, survival, preserving itself. All of that is part of the human experience. And there's going to be certain quirks that you have as part of your personality that's unique, that is totally fine and can be welcomed in this process. There is no need to try and pretend to be a good person or a spiritual person or any of that. That's still all in the ego realm. You're welcome to be a unique expression of what it is that that we are. It is an important part to this path, and really can't be rejected if you want to keep continuing on the path. But I guess we have to be very honest with ourselves about the behaviors that we're doing, and ask, is this coming from an egoic drive? Where often it is, particularly earlier stages. Is this something that needs to be let go of? Is it dysfunctional in any way? That's your hint. Is it dysfunctional? Is it causing harm to others or myself in any way? Then we know that's something to be let go of. But once all those layers have been let go of and there's just the raw human here, then we can enjoy being human. We can enjoy being this paradox of emptiness in form. And we don't need to reject anything. And this lack of resistance is what creates this sense of happiness that we have when we're awake, because we're not fighting against, we're not feeling guilty, we're not pushing against. There's no friction anymore. We could say ego is friction. It is that resistance. That is what ego is. So when that is gone, you're free to just be yourself. And yourself is a unique expression of the one.